Hi there, thanks for joining me today. My name's Jo and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator from the UK. Today I'm going to make a really nice sort of autumnal card with you. I love autumn colours and I love anything to do with sort of autumn designs, so I thought it would be quite good fun to create a card using just the dies this time from the Stitched Leaves dies. Now these are beautiful. They've got all these different leaves which I've already cut in preparation just from basic white cardstock, and then when we've finished colouring we're actually going to add these stitched elements to them. So it's just a really nice sort of design that's just going to be really simple but really lovely and bright autumnal colours. So I'm going to put those to one side. So I'm starting with just a thick basic white card base, and this is a standard C6 card. So this measures 21 centimetres by 14.85, and then it's scored at 10.5 just to give us our card base there. Okay, and then I've taken a piece of the paper from the In Good Taste paper, which is still with us at the moment. It's got all these beautiful sort of wood designs and also some tile designs, that type of thing. It's really lovely and it really just sets off these colours beautifully. So that's what we're starting with. So as I say, I've pre-cut quite a few leaves. I'm not sure how many I'm going to need at this stage, but as you can see I've pre-cut quite a few so that we can have a lot to play with, and then whatever's left over we can use in a different design. So I just want to make sure these are all up the right way, which they are, and I'm going to be using 4 colours and 4 daubers. So you can use daubers, you can use sponges, you can use whatever you want to use. So I'll just clear those so that we can see just one at a time. And I'm going to start off this one. They're going to be in a mixture of colours, but this one I'm going to start off in crushed curry. So I've got a separate dauber for each ink. So I'm just going to pick up some of that ink, and you always want to start with your lighter colour. So that's difficult when you've got 2 quite dark colours, but you just want to make sure they're not going to contaminate each other, okay? So just start off with whatever is your lightest colour, and I'm just going to sponge over my leaf. And I'm not too worried if it's a bit patchy, because these are going to be added to in a short while, and then we'll come back and add any extra colours or anything that we need. So as I say, this is crushed curry, and I'm just going all over the top of this because this is, we're thinking autumn, we're thinking sort of when the colours of the leaves change, and we have a lot of that obviously here in the UK, and they're just starting to go now, which is lovely. We live quite near forests, so we often wander into the forest and see all the beautiful coloured leaves. So I've started that one, as I say, with crushed curry. I'm now going to use a little bit of pumpkin pie, and naturally as you go near the edges it will pick up some of this colour anyway, but I just want to be quite random about it, because remember, when leaves change they're not all sort of uniform, they don't all change together in the same way. So I'm just adding little patches just to bring in some of that beautiful orange. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that one. So this is obviously going to be quite quick because we are just adding with a dauber, so we're not actually doing a lot of sort of mixing of other colours. So I'm going to do another sort of yellow and orange one here. I'm just using a blending mat under here just to make it easier. It just makes the inks move more smoothly, but you can use something like a plastic sort of document folder or something like that if you've got one hanging around. We don't like to use too many plastics, I know, but also something like an oven liner works really well for this if you can't get hold of the proper blending mats. Okay, so that's my 2 colours there, and on this one I'm also going to bring in a little bit of Old Olive. So again, I'm just going over the top this time, and can you just see it's just, so the leaves are just starting to turn all these beautiful colours. Okay, now they can look a little bit patchy to start with, but that's fine because we're going to sort of mix and match them, so they're all going to mix and match together. So again, this is Old Olive, and I'm not too worried if it's a little bit patchy. Okay, and this time I'm going to bring in a little bit of cherry cobbler into this one. So the plan is we just want to make a real mixture of leaves that are all turning sort of colours so that we can have a real mix of them together. So I'm adding a little bit of orange on there as well. This time I think I'll do a little bit of orange actually, and I'm not worried if I'm going to bring in some of that red. Some more crushed curry. So I'm just bringing in a real mixture of colours. As I say, don't be afraid to just mix them up, because this is what autumn colours are all about. They all mix together. Okay, so I've got quite a lot of red, green, orange going on here. So I want to bring in another really just sort of green one really. So I might add some yellow into this in a second, but I'm going to concentrate on the green for a while. And so don't worry if it's patchy, that's fine. We might be losing some of these as well off the edges, so honestly don't worry too much. So it's mainly green, but I'm going to add in a little bit of pumpkin. Not a lot, I just want some on the edges, just to, so we've got a real mixture, so we don't want them all one sort of shade. Okay. Okay, so these are our leaves here. So now what I want to do is I want to bring in my card here. Now I can see that my bit of paper here is just slightly larger than my card front. That's because I just literally picked up a piece out of the packet. Okay, so that's my paper in place. So now what I want to do is I want to start arranging my leaves onto my page. And I want these to sort of hang off the edge. I want them to, some be towards the front, some to be towards the back. And just literally just arrange them quite randomly at this stage, just till we can see kind of what they're going to look like. And I don't mind if they hang off the edge as well, because we're going to trim those. As I say, put some behind, some in front. Just give us a rough idea, and then we can put some on top. Yeah, I think I've got plenty here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with sticking this green one down here, because I can see that's going to be at my bottom one here. So I'm just going to stick that off the edge and just make sure that that has got a little bit of glue on it. Okay, I'll trim these all in a while. We'll just get them sort of stuck down first. So then this one was sort of towards the front. This one I kind of had tucked under here. And I'm going to lay these all flat because there's going to be several layers. I want them all just to sort of sit on top of each other, really. I don't want to use any dimensionals because I think it's going to be too much for the actual card. So whilst it's sort of still wet, you can just have a fiddle around and check you're happy where you want it to stick. And notice I'm not putting glue right to the edges because that means that if I need to tuck one behind, I can just move it slightly or just tuck just underneath it. So just take that sort of line and you should be fine. Okay, so I'm going to stick this one next. Okay, so now I'm quite happy with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add the stitching to these 5 that are left. You could add stitching to all of them if you wanted to, but I think it's nice to have a combination, and also it's sort of some are sort of tucked behind, so you don't really get that full effect from them anyway. So taking these ones here, I'm just going to bring in my little mini machine. And if I just position them so hopefully you can see them. We're about to have a thunderstorm here. So I'm just going to pop these on here. So literally just placing them into the middle of the actual leaves themselves. So can you see now these have got this lovely sort of stitch design into them. So little perforations. I like to do it after I've inked because if you do it prior to inking, what tends to happen is the ink sticks to the actual part where you've made the little holes. So you're better off doing the inking first, and then that way you get a nice sort of finish. So if I bring the card back in now, what we're going to do is we're going to lay these ones on the top. So can you see you get that nice sort of mix of ones that have been embossed with the die, stitch die, and those that haven't. I'm just going to tuck these in certain areas just to finish our design, and I quite like that. So let's stick those down into place. Okay, so I've got all my leaves in place. So now what I'm going to do is, that one doesn't want to stick, let's just put a little bit more glue under there. There we go. So I'm just going to trim all the leaf tops and any overhanging pieces off the back here. Okay, and the next thing I want to do is actually add some gilding flakes. Now, these are the gilding flakes. They go everywhere if you're not careful, so you do need to be a little bit careful of them. I keep them in a far larger pot than I need to, just to keep them all in one place. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some glue. Now you can do this without heat and stick powder, but if you haven't got that, or you just want a simpler sort of way to do it, you can just add some glue. Now you can use pretty much any glue you want to. You can use our multi-purpose glue, but what I'm using is just a glue pen, because I like to be able to be just that little bit more precise with it, so I can actually see where I'm going. Okay, so I'm just adding little places of glue. You don't need to add it all over, because you don't want too much there. You just want it to give us this lovely gold sort of shimmer. And what I want to do, and this is the same with our multi-purpose glue if you're using that, you want to leave it until it is tacky. So I'm letting this dry, but this will remain tacky. So although this is dry, it's still quite tacky, and it will just be enough to hold my flakes in place. I don't want it really, really wet, or because you will get in a bit of a mess. It's not the easiest thing to work with when you've got wet glue. So again, just add in some little spots of where we're going to add some gold accents. Okay, so this side is now nearly dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my gilding flakes. And what I want to do is to pop this into my pot. And I'm just going to rub it over the surfaces where I've put the... It's easier to add more than you need, and then you can just rub it in. And we don't want it necessarily to stick on every single part. We just want it to stick as best we can onto the elements that we've actually glued. But don't worry if they're not all covered. It really doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm just going to get the worst of this off, so you can see that it's all going back into the pot. And I'm really not wasting a great deal of it. And I'm quickly going to put the lid on before I proceed any further. Okay, so once you've done that, you end up, and it looks a bit of a mess at this stage, to be fair, but you've just got to work at it. So I like to just work in little circular motions, and I'm using a large makeup brush. Now this isn't out of my makeup bag. This is something that I bought specifically for my craft room. So it's something that I use with glitter, something like gilding flakes. It's really good for. So it's just a really, really soft brush. But what it does, it enables you to get really close to your project, and you can just lift off those bits. Now I have got some random bits that are stuck to areas where you just don't think you've put any glue, but actually I like that. So I think it just adds that sort of effect to it. Now normally I would be trying to savour any last little bits of gold, but whilst we're filming we can't really do that. So okay, so if you're happy with your design, which I'm quite happy now, I'm quite happy that, you know, where all the pieces are, I just want to add a greeting to my card. Okay, so the greeting I've chosen today is from the Heartfelt Wishes stamp set. It's got some really lovely sort of words and swirly sort of words, which I love. And I'm just going to use this sending love here, because I think this is sort of a nice card just to send to someone, just to say hello and how are you type thing. So I'm using a Versamark ink pad, and I am using, as I say, this stamp here. So I'm just going to ink, and I'm going straight onto the wood grain here, because I think it will really sort of look nice against the gold on the leaves. So I have a pot of just gold embossing powder here. In fact, I don't need that there today. And I'm just going to add some gold embossing powder to it. Just tap it off just to make sure you get all the rest off. Although, as I say, if you get little bits of gold somewhere else, it's not going to matter on here really. And I'm going to take my heat gun. Okay, so that's my greeting on my card. I'm hoping you can see that lovely. It's really subtle, but I really like that idea. If you find that your card buckles slightly after you've heat embossed, provided your embossing is cool, you can sort of flatten it under something, but it will go kind of back into shape once it's had a chance to dry and cool down, so don't worry too much if that happens. And the other thing I love to use in autumnal cards is our linen thread, because I think it's one of those threads that's just really nice, neutral, but it works really, really well. Sadly, this is the last piece I have until my order arrives. So normally I'd probably wrap it round a couple of times just to add a little bit more sort of emphasis to it really. So, but I haven't got that luxury today. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually tie it first of all. As I say, normally I'd just wrap it a couple of times and then make sure that I had left myself sufficient. So I just want to make sure I'm going to have my bow sort of up here. So what I'm going to do is just tie this into a double knot. Okay, so I know that that's now secure on there. I'm going to trim my other end so that it is the same length as this one here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this underneath, because this is my last little bit. I'm going to tie that on a knot on top. And then I'm going to tie that section into a bow, just so that it actually mixes in with the other. So I've actually got 4 ends of my bow, but that's fine. I'm not worried about that. So once that's all in place, just going to move that down just slightly. There we go. So I'm just going to trim off all the ends just so that they're all roughly the same sort of size. And there we go. So that is our autumnal card with some gold accents using our beautiful gilding flakes, and a lovely heat embossed greeting onto our beautiful in good taste paper. So I hope you like that. As I say, it's just a really nice sort of easy, simple autumnal card where you don't have to think too much about sort of your stamping side of things. You can just get really inky and have some fun. So I hope you like that, and I will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.